Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic and non-classics. This is episode number 52, 32, 59, and double number 3153. Got two IDW trade paperbacks here. Star Trek and Godzilla. You're like, why these two? Sci-fi. First up we have is the Star Trek Archives Volume 1, Best of Peter David. Yep, this of course collects the some of the DC comic issues written by Peter David from Star Trek. So Star Trek comics written by him. So this book collects the third annual for Star Trek, published by DC Comics. Everything here is written by Peter David. He does this as a co-writer. He has Bill Mumy. He does some regular Star Trek issues in here. The annual is drawn by the late Kurt Swan. The artwork for the main individual issues, which is 13, 14, and it's 13 to 14, 13, 15, and issue 19. All written by Peter David. Bill Mumy does basically the 13 to 14, 15. 19 does by himself. We have Gordon Parisi on the artwork for the issues. First up is the annual. The third annual for Star Trek. In terms of the Star Trek timeline, a lot of this stuff is set like just after the events of Wrath of Khan. Like, we start out basically some sword practicing, where looks like you have like Sulu and Kirk just fencing. And then we see Scotty grieving over the death of his wife. Apparently it happened like yeah. So apparently they got married about 5 years before the events of Wrath of Khan. So, because of the fact, I think that, if I remember correctly, I think Wrath of Khan takes place in 2284. So, it was probably just before the events motion picture, because I remember they had a Shakedown cruise right after that. So, this is probably just before that. They also do have, like, Scotty lounging around. We do have, like, him remembering. And then we have the funeral for his son, Peter, his nephew Peter, and we see his sister, who was the mother. Yeah, because he had different last name. Last name was Pressman, so that's what I can tell basically. So he was Scotty's nephew. Yeah, she's upset that her son is gone, but his sister basically is in Starfleet. Yep. And she refers to him as Uncle Montgomery, not Uncle Scotty. And then we see Saavik. I should point out this actually is not Kirstie Alley. This is Robin Curtis. Before we saw her, this is probably just after they returned to Earth now. Yeah, she's here basically for the funeral. I have heard the behind-the-scenes reason why Kirstie Alley did come back for Search for Spock. The reason I've heard because of money, and also because she's a big movie star. She's only associated with Star Trek. Yeah. And his wife, Gwendoline. Yes. We even detail basically their blossom romance over the years. Then we see Scotty come home from the academy thing, and then, well, yeah, and I mentioned a guy named August here, like, oh, don't marry him because he's a terrible person. Later, apparently, she did marry him. She claimed he changed, despite the fact he sees him a terrible person. And apparently, like, she's, like, shocked to see him walking by. It's like, and of course, they make out. And then, for some reason, her husband, August, decides to fight Scotty. Yeah. Now, of course, he didn't know that she was married. She was just happy. He was happy to see her. And last time I checked, punching a guy, yeah, okay. If he knew ahead of time this was why, he probably wouldn't do it. But he had no idea. Yeah, and then of course, then we have Scotty basically to fight with him. Yeah. He walks in and finds out basically it's her husband. And then they kind of break into her apartment thinking something else is going on, but not really. And the thing is, well, he thinks that he might be hitting her. Nope. Apparently they were having sex. Okay, they're a married couple, they were going to do it. Yes. I'm sure eventually she did divorce him, and that's when they got married. Yeah, eventually of course their relationship with the years eventually that they did break the heart. And then we go to the main one. I got at the end, it was really good. And then we have this 3-part story, which has the crew of the Enterprise. This, of course, is presumably set after, like, basically the uniforms here, because of the fact that that Search of Spock happened really quickly, and then this is probably before Final Frontier. Yes. And basically, the 3-part to deal with a crazy robot, and he ever wearing their famous jackets. And basically, you have Kirk giving a report to a vice admiral, who basically tells him, "Would you care to tell me, Miss Kirk, what just we've been drinking?" Vice Admiral Townsend, with all due respect to your rank, I'll thank you not to address me in that manner. Let's not stand somewhere, Kirk. I've been one mince words. I've raised a cliche. What was that? I was wondering if you blame me for your recent change in assignments. Apparently he says he was lazy in the council, and apparently it's a promotion. It's Admiral Townsend now. Yeah. They apparently like each other. So then we have the ship's wheel, which this is the observation deck which debuted in Final Frontier, which you could say this is set maybe after Final Frontier, maybe? It's possible there's no mention of it, but yeah, and then we have these weird aliens pop up here, the roll pops up again. It's a very weird story arc, but as for the placement of it, I'm guessing it's either before or after Final Frontier. That's my personal guess, anyways. Yeah. But it's a really cool story. I think Peter Dave does an amazing job with it. Then they have another debriefing. Admiral Styles. Yeah, I remember I think he was, like, mentioned on screen, but I think he ever made a physical appearance. Admiral, it seemed we just spoke. Change for the better. Kirk has gone off on some half-baked side to career rather than accomplish the assigned task of testing the lever unit. As I recall, the camera is avoid a verge of war. Perhaps Kirk... Oh, actually it's a different one. Oh, I remember this guy, Captain Styles. Yes, I believe this guy, basically, he somehow became the captain of the Excelsior. Though for some reason, they don't give him the look of the actor playing with the movie. And also, I remember in the novelization of, I think it was Star Trek 3, where Sulu was basically mentioning the book he says in the movie, that it's like, take that, Styles, for taking my captain's seat. Because apparently the way it was written in the novelization of Star Trek 3, if I remember, is that Sulu blames Styles for sabotaging his prospect to be captain. And except look at the ship. This is clearly not the Excelsior. This looks like an Enterprise. Look like a Constitution class. And this Admiral, oh boy, it's just like he is just a dick. Character playing 3D chest, and then oh yeah, the hair. Which the hair being this color, that was actually in Final Frontier. So this is set after Final Frontier. Yep, and the roll pops up again here. I gotta admit, this is a really good story arc. It is worthy, and of course they go to this planet which is decimated. And of course, his Admiral thinks Kirk is disobeying orders, despite the fact he's not. Kirk, basically, the way he talked to the Admiral, it seems like he's asking, please don't dress me that way. Like, it's like the Admiral thinks that Kirk drinks. Last time I checked, Kirk does not, he's never gone to the bottle the entire time. A lot of the time he's been pretty sober. The only time he's ever drank any time on screen was in Undiscovered Country. Rest time? Nope. He very rarely drinks alcohol. Very rarely. It's almost like the Admiral was implying the Admiral was, that the captain was drunk when he wrote his report. And basically he's being very polite with him. And yeah. We also have an alien who apparently falls for Chekhov, despite the fact she's supposed to be with somebody else. And he was just basically bringing, and then for some weird reason, the guy decides to shove Chekhov to the freaking wall and calls for security because of the fact his head is bleeding. Yep, after explaining everything, and then, well, Chekhov does get treated, and eventually, like, and Styles, you could tell it's Styles because of the horsemanship he carries. This matter of fact, it's clearly not based upon the actor. Well, the original series cast, they basically drawn likenesses perfectly. And then we have issue 19, Once a Hero. Where Captain is mourning. This is presumably still set after on this country, but before. Actually, not afterwards. It's set before this country. It's a time period. I'm not sure how much time period passed between Final Frontier and this country. I don't know. It could be a few years. I have no idea. We have just a lot of talking scenes, really good talking scenes, mind you. And we have a bunch of action here. It's like it's spoken like the action bit here, which is so good. And that's it. Yeah, really short archive book. Yeah, it's only like about 150 pages. It's really, really short. I give the book a 10 out of 10 because I thought it was really good. Next up we have is from John Layman. We have Godzilla IDW Library Collection. Volume 1. Yeah, this collects a few Godzilla miniseries published by IDW. This collects Godzilla Gangsters and Goliaths, Godzilla Legends, and Godzilla Half-Century War. Basically, a lot of this book is basically like Godzilla versus various different monsters, like in various different time periods. Like what Legends is. Like they have Mechagodzilla pop up in here, except they had the design from the Showa era Mechagodzilla. I think it was in Legends of Half-Century where they had Space Godzilla pop up in here. But these three mini-series overall are just pure, fantastic goodness. Goliaths and Legends, written by John Layman, art by Alberto Parisi. Legends is basically like a series of one-shots. Anguirus, Rodan, Titanosaurus, Hedorah, and Kumonga. Anguirus is story by Matt Frank and Joe Brisky does the script. Rodan is Joe Voicki. Titanosaurus, Mike Reach. Hedorah is Chris Murray. And Bobby Carroll does the Kumonga. And Half-Century War is written, drawn, and lettered by James Stokey. Yes, Anguirus. Okay, so where these people first appeared, Rodan appeared in his own solo movie. Hedorah and Kumonga. Kumonga first appeared in, believe it or not, Godzilla's Revenge. Hedorah appeared in Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Titanosaurus. I think he first appeared in I think he was a character who appeared. I think it was in Terror Mechagodzilla. I think he first appeared. As Anguirus, he first appeared in Godzilla Raids Again. But all the miniseries in here are fantastic. I do recommend checking this book out. People are Godzilla fans. I give it a 10 out of 10. This actually is a license people forget IDW has, because on top of people's head, what usually licensed currently right now published by IDW do they have? They have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which they had to pay. They had to pay basically nearly break the bank to keep the license for this one. They published Star Trek, Sonic the Hedgehog, Godzilla. Yes, they published Godzilla. Believe it or not, they still publish My Little Pony. Yes, somehow they still publish My Little Pony. I'm not sure how, but they do. But Godzilla is one people did forget the fact they publish. Yes, they have publishing them for the last 20 years, and they've done an amazing job with it. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, I'll be killing science right ears and maxed out. Okay, thanks for viewing. Bye.